This section examines the principals and teachers' experiences with innovation as they approach teaching and learning in an enterprising way. They explain the role of authentic learning in an enterprising environment and how students responded, showing increased levels of intrinsic motivation and a sense of purpose. They tell us how explicit knowledge must be developed for informed problem solving and how valuing and growing implicit knowledge further support the development of creative and innovative solutions.
E4E differs from traditional teaching in a number of ways. The first thing is that the project that the teacher chooses is a real project. It's a situation which is an existing situation. It's a situation that is looking at real needs or particular opportunities. And so the way that the teacher approaches it really is to engage the students, to get student buy-in from the start. The students have got to see the relevance of the problem, of the project, and they've got to understand that they can contribute to a solution which is going to be a meaningful solution, a valuable solution.
Explicit knowledge is knowledge that can be researched, gathered, found, sourced.
From books, from video.
From somewhere, for a purpose.
From people as a resource. It's the knowledge that they can grab. To pass explicit knowledge, first, the good teachers, they start with a knowledge attack right from the start in the units that they're doing, because they use all sorts of strategies to bring that knowledge to the students, and they do it in all sorts of different ways, because until the kids have that knowledge, the initiative, the innovation and the creativity won't come. It won't come because they simply don't know. They haven't got the background. They're only little. They haven't learnt all those things. So they use all sorts of strategies, all sorts of learning tools to bring that knowledge to the children in the first place.
For us, the project was about raising the level of communication between the school and home beyond the school newsletter.
And what the children didn't know, but what we knew as a staff, obviously, was that this project really was giving them the ground rules or the scaffolding to be able to take this type of learning to another project. So really the project was the context for the learning that took place.
These are life skills. They're learning some life skills that maybe they can extend further, perhaps into other areas apart from the landscaping that we did, for example, maybe into their maths. Maybe they can think outside the square for their problem solving there.
They knew that it had to be out on a certain date. They knew it had to be accurate.
It's that time management and that realisation that, God, we've got to deliver, and now we've got to deliver on time, and we've got to deliver something which is good enough, And
suddenly they'd written a lovely piece of writing, but it wouldn't fit.
You never hear the kids saying, "Oh, can we have an extension?"
And that's the reality. And so they had to work out which bits to leave in and which bits to leave out, and it wasn't always their own decisions.
Children came to realise that to produce the Kids' Corner actually cost money. It required computers and printers and ink and paper and so notebooks and pencils and all of these things. And
one child said, "I'd really like to write about this," and then I said, "Well, that's a really good idea, but perhaps you need to do a little bit of research."
To be sustainable, we put it to them that they needed to make this a commercial proposition. We've got to make some money here.
And she picked out the person that she knew was the best person on the computer using the internet and asking Jeeves, and she'd seen him doing it before and she hadn't, so she pulled him right out and said, "Oh, will you come and help me do this?" And between the two of them, they found a lovely site.
And that's where the accountants and the cooks and the so on came in. They decided to sell some sausages and have a sausage barbecue to raise the funds. And that's, of course, where the project expanded, because we had to employ our cooks and our accountants and various other people to work for Kids' Corner.
So even though there was a planning process and a series of events that they had to go through before they reached completion, there was lots of technology involved and lots of modifications before they actually came back to that final product. And the ripple effect was such that everybody learnt from everybody else. Lots of sharing and lots of comparing and lots of little people standing up and being applauded for some of the cool things that they did too.
Children and I were rolling around some ideas, and we were thinking school lunches and so on. So we thought KC, somewhere we came up with Kids Cafe, which is the same lettering as Kids Corner. And from there we had this thought that we would create a cafe for children in the school. And that's the next step.
While this project was going on, children were doing it before school. They were hammering and banging and nailing and painting after school. They were bringing resources.
We want motivated learners, and it's not hard. It's not that easy to get motivated learners when they're sitting in a desk.
They had Dad sized up that he was going to come and bring us drill and bring us whatever supplies they needed, and they're ringing him if he's 5 minutes late.
It's not natural for children just to be sitting in the desk all day. You get them up and doing something and having some ownership of what they're doing. You've got motivated learners, and the parents see that and they become motivated as well.
I have found by the Enterprise program that it's an excellent way of children taking charge of their own learning outcomes.
Student motivation is a huge benefit. They certainly get motivated because it's real. I mean, they knew, for example, that an awful lot of people would read this, and so that was a motivation for a start.
They see the goal, move towards it, problem solve, and they're very successful, given the chance.
Really good problem solving, really deep problem solving, and in that right from the very basics, I can't do this, I'm not, so I won't, never entered their heads. I can do this, I am going to make a drafts board out there, it is going to be big enough for my feet to go on it. Well, I might need a parent to give me a hand, so on the phone and ringing up, yes, I can get this, but I haven't got any money, what am I going to do about some money? Okay, go straight to the principal, I want some money, and what's my next step? And following the steps logically so that they can produce the end result. That was really, really good. And finding out that things don't work, so what am I going to do about fixing it?
To me, implicit knowledge is the knowledge that's just there. Enterprising learners get plenty of chances to display this implicit knowledge.
And you're thinking, wow, that little 6-year-old's come up with an idea that the 5 and 6 year 5 and 6s hadn't come up with.
What I was surprised about was what the children came up with as to what they felt would be child-friendly or child-interesting out there. And then the ingenuity that came through.
Perhaps we don't trust children enough in giving them chances to identify what they need. And this was one of those chances.
One of our dairy farmers is a dad, and his son was in a group that had to make outside seating. They came up with seating quite unlike anything that I would have envisaged. I thought perhaps they would have designed something that needed hammers and nails, and they would have built seats of some sort with planks. And they didn't, because this boy realised that on their farm they had huge numbers of boulders, big old boulders. And so Peter they designed their seats to be planks of wood that were going to fit on tops of stones.
In the sort of activities that we're talking about, in E4E activities, the students are often operating in a different way, and it's a different approach to the way the project is carried out. And once they've got into it, once they're aware of the expectations, then they're into it in a big way, and they're into it to make sure that they succeed.